How's it going, YouTube? We've got some crazy stuff that I am kind of stumbling into. I did not get to watch any of these matches, and I'll be candid with you all. I don't know exactly what happened. So these are going to be kind of a genuine reaction, but the Esports World Cup went down literally as I was landing in Croatia. And apparently Joreuz won MVP and beat Gentlemates not once, but twice. One of them being a sweep with the Chiefs from Australia, who are making top 8 for the first time in what feels like eternity. Pretty wild stuff. So we're going to take a look at the results, talk about what went down based upon the group standings, and some things to make a note of. And that's kind of the big takeaway that I'm going to have on this, is teams to watch out or teams to pay attention to based upon some of these results going into the World Championship next week. So with that said, we're going to take a look at our group stages. Again, 4 groups of 4, double elim. The only downfall that I know a lot of people are kind of upset because you do get a lot of rematches, but at the same time, that also provides some cool narratives of a chance to run it back and prove that you are the better team. So moving across the board, we do have in Group A what was a very stacked teams with G2 and BDS and Power putting up a fight. I don't actually remember my own predictions, but I think we got like 7 out of 8. The only one we didn't get correct is Gentlemates, because I don't think anybody expected that to happen. Yeah, I still wouldn't have predicted Chiefs to beat Mates twice. So that's pretty crazy. Group A, though, went as expected. I had BDS winning here, but the fact that G2 came out as strong as they did, I think what's really cool about this is BDS is kind of doing what they did last year and the time they won Worlds, where they have a little bit of a low period and then they get hot when it matters most. So you're telling me this is what essentially is 2-3 weeks before the World Championship, and BDS is really starting to feel it. It looks like they're really into a groove and gelling. Confident Monkey Moon is one of the scariest players in the world, in my opinion. I think LAWL is still that guy. So very cool to see. Glad to see Power put up a little bit of a fight. I can tell you guys right now, on the other side of things at the World Championship, we'll talk more about those in predictions and stuff. Expect Pioneers to go 0-3. That team is in shambles right now. The last regional, they had to play with their coach. Like, I think the team's boycotting scrims and stuff. Like, it is, Pioneers is chalked. It is not good. So I'll provide more insight in the prediction videos when we get closer to those. As for everybody else, I think things went pretty straightforward in this group. BDS and G2 dominant fashion. I thought this would be a little bit closer in BDS, but on that, good to see G2 look really good with NAS. NAS stocks are through the moon like we expected them to be. As a free agent with the M80 thing no longer being what I selfishly want, and I'm kind of jumping ahead. Actually, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to get to it when we get to Group D. I'll talk about it there. Group B, Falcons looking dominant. That's what I expected. Gen G, because they started a little bit slow against Secret, I would expect them to lose to Falcons and then bounce back. But yeah, looking a little bit more dominant. I am a firm believer that I think Gen G is a solidified number 2 in NA. I think they are a team that can go and compete and make top 4s and do a good job. Who they match up against, I think, is going to be the difficult part at the World Championship, but I would be very surprised if Gen G doesn't find themselves top 8 and almost convincingly, depending on what their head-to-head matchup is in that quarterfinals, making it into the top 4. I do think they are starting to figure out their identity and start to understand what this like 3-headed monster they are trying to build, not just first killer gets the ball. So with that said, they're probably going to make a roster change next year, so we'll see how that goes. As for Group C, Fury and Vitality, again, going back and forth. I actually think I said that specifically where Fury and Twisted would probably play, and I think Twisted would look a lot better than people expected. The fact that they brought it to 5, I think, is very exciting. I heard this match was incredible, and that a lot of people really enjoyed the back and forth series, but after a certain point, Fury really, really turned it on. I mean, you're talking 9 goals to 1 in the last 2 games. That's insane. Other than that, Fury looked like the best team. Vitality, I know a lot of people are actually in their power rankings, actually putting them pretty low. As like 3rd or 4th seed in EU right now because of how well BDS is playing in their ascension. But I feel a lot of people just aren't confident in Vitality anymore. And I don't think that's necessarily wrong, considering they're the only team that hasn't made a roster change. And I expect next year some pretty crazy roster changes in Europe. Like, I think K-Corp's going to break up. I think Vitality will probably make a change. You may even see BDS make some changes. Like, I don't know if anybody's safe. Like, I think you're going to see some crazy French catastrophe, like, nonsense going on. But I just think with Vitality, like, they're probably going to want to make a change, whether it's Alpha or Radosin. I don't know who they're going to pick. I just think they rebuild again around Zen, and who they choose to pick up as their third is going to be crazy. But yeah, Fury Vitality. We've been talking about that narrative about how these guys continue to run into each other. Happy to see it again. But yeah, Vitality gets the win this time. Fury looks strong in the lowers, but I think a lot of credit being given to Twisted. I think they put up a really good fight. As for Group D, this is the one that everybody was like turning their attention to. This one was wild. The fact that they are able to go up 2-1 in the series, 1-goal games in everything except for the ones they win. That is pretty nuts. A lot of credit to Chiefs. I did talk to Joreuz about this a little bit when I got home, and he talked about how the thing that he really likes about this team is while the mechanics are there, they just don't have good practice or good environment to really learn. So the players in OCE absorb information like crazy. They're so eager to learn. And he's like, dude, every time I talk to Hunter just soaks that shit up and implements it immediately. And it just works. He's like, I was able to just sit back on defense like I like, pick my moments, and then ball out. And he's like, but the credit is to them. This isn't public information, and I'm hopeful that he's okay with me saying this. And if you're not Joreuz, I'll edit it out of the video. But like, people don't realize that Joreuz, even though he won MVP, he is still going to take some of the MVP funds and give it to the guys in the OCE team. He's like, I think it's unfair that they invited me for this one-off thing that I wasn't supposed to do, and then I come in and make 5 times what they did. So I'm pretty sure he's actually going to reward LBP, the coach, and the 2 players a little bit of the MVP money, which to me just speaks even more about who Joreuz is as a person. Like, I love that kid so much. I think he's a great dude. I think he's got so much left in his career. And like, you see that they literally just him and Oli just went and did double Dutch in the 2v2 Champions Road thing and won that too. I think a lot of the big players were missing, but still, like, I think it just speaks to him as who he is as a player. I hope he's okay with me sharing that, but like, that's such a classy move. And you don't really hear about him much other than people be like, he can't win a top 8. So, which doesn't change here. Space Station looks clean and good team. I'm a little bit worried about Space Station's future, because if the rumors are true and LJ does jump ship over to Gen G, I don't know what that team is going to look like. But Space Station to me is still a competitive team, but I think they kind of peak at top 8 and they get beat out by most of the competition. I'm glad to see Gentlemates do bounce back though and show some resiliency. But this is the surprise. I'm going to go back and watch this VOD probably on stream one of these days, just because a sweep over mates, like, first time is a fluke, second time there's something going on here. So credit to the boys. They played very, very well. Very proud of them. I like the Chiefs team a lot. I'm a big fan of Lachlan and what they do over there. So cool to see. Joreuz said that he had an absolute blast, and he said the environment was impeccable. He said it was awesome. So shout out to that. Maybe we see Joreuz go over to OCE, and it's not a one-time thing. We then go into the playoffs, and I would say out of all these, probably as expected in the quarterfinals, BDS, from what I was hearing, was looking like that team, and they were kind of finding their form. And like, to me, Space Station, I say they kind of peak at top 8. BDS, when they're on, and they look really, really good. So big momentum game here. As for Gen G over Vitality, I thought it would be a little bit closer. And obviously, 2 1-goal games, make it 3 with that OT, 4 with this one. So all 1-goal games could have easily went the other way. But I think this speaks to Gen G more than anything. The fact that they played a really tight series against Vitality and didn't concede once, I think is a big deal. Hopefully a little bit of a confidence booster for them moving forward. As for Falcons Furia, I think Falcons is just a bad matchup for Furia. Furia is kind of a one-trick pony, and I don't mean to be disrespectful. They play really fast, really aggressive. And while they are starting to do a little bit better on the defensive half and controlling the ball and stuff, Falcons is just full fucking send all the time, in your face, no mistakes, go, go, go. So there's a reason why they were my favorites. I think that is a top 3 pick to win Worlds. Falcons, I think, looks very good. But yeah, they are that team. Still, 1-goal games here. Good adjustments from Furia after that first game blowout. So cool stuff there. And then G2 Chiefs, nothing against Chiefs, but I just don't see them winning that. They kept it close though. So I think a little bit something to be said. Maybe some stocks for Chiefs going up. Unfortunately, we will not see 2/3 of that roster going to the World Championship, because it is Pioneers and Power. So unfortunate that that's the last time we get to see them. Curious on what their iteration is going to be for next year. But yeah, a lot of respect given to the Chiefs between Kaka and Hunter. Yeah, Joreuz, a lot of people focusing on Joreuz and giving him the MVP, and congrats to him. It's $50,000 that he wins on top of his tournament earnings. But OC back in top 8 in international competition for the first time in what feels like forever. Pretty special. And to be the reason you lose against G2 and keeping it 1-goal games, except for game 3, pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. Semifinals, BDS did look like they had the hot hand, but Gen G was able to trade some matches very close. 2 OTs as well, which Gen G wins both of those. I'm actually surprised by that. But yeah, 1-goal games in 2 of those outside of that. So 4 games are 1-goal games. You've got relatively close. None of them are blowouts. BDS winning after that timeout, I think, is pretty huge for the series momentum. But that seems like a good series. We'll have to go back and watch that one as well. Falcons and G2. I think a full strength Falcons against the G2 with the sub. I don't expect G2 to win on that, so I'm not surprised by that. They kept it close, though. They actually kept it really close. I'll want to watch this one before I make any assessments on it, but realistically, I just think it's difficult to pick G2 in that, no matter how good NAS is, which maybe you guys in chat or in the comments can let me know before I go and watch these back. Very interested to see on how G2 played with NAS and what his role was for the team. Was he offensive? Was he defensive? Did he kind of work as the middleman? Like, I'm curious on what play style NAS took on for that roster. In my opinion, anytime you have a new player coming in, the two that are familiar with each other, so in this case, Atomic and Daniel, kind of take a backseat and just enable him and say, hey, man, play to your heart's content, go crazy, do whatever you want, and we'll support it. So I assume that's how they did it, but you just never know. NAS was their best player in the tourney. Yeah, so they just let him cook, which makes sense. Makes sense. And then BDS Falcons. I think after seeing how well Falcons was playing, I think BDS had the harder side of the bracket, if I'm being honest, just because of the Gen G situation. But BDS slowly ramping up. That's cool to see. Very close game 1, and then Falcons turned it up. Holy 6-1. So 2 in a row for Falcons is a pretty big deal. And then 3 to close it out. All 1-goal games and an OT. Falcons grand final woes is very true, Terry. Falcons continues to make second place again and just can't close it out, especially on home soil and stuff. I'm sure they would have loved to win that one. I know a lot of the conversation as well has been around G2 for this event. I know Gibbs was talking about it. For those that are unfamiliar, the Esports World Cup is a kind of a aggregate of your results across multiple tournaments. So if you are G2 Esports, you are competing in Valorant, Counter-Strike, Rocket League, so on and so forth. You compete a bunch of different titles, and you earn points just like you would in the RLCS over a collective. And the best performing team ends up getting a massive prize pool payout. It's like $2 million or something like that. And there's been a lot of criticism on Beast Mode about not going in competing, simply because of the difference with if G2 would have performed a little bit better, which many consider them the favorites and the best team in the world. The difficulty is that if you would have had him there and they would have won, that's the difference between the organization of G2 being paid like a $1.4 million difference. G2 as a club finished 9th at $450,000. And if they would have won in Rocket League, would then bump them up to 1825, which would have put them at... So second place, they were getting $4 million. Like, what that does for an organization for support, that basically pays for their Counter-Strike team and their Valorant team for the year, which is like such an alleviation. So I don't know. I know there's a lot of criticism on Beast Mode. I don't know what the details are of his contract or what he's obligated to do or this or that, but there is definitely some conversations that only he knows behind the scenes of what they're enforcing or what they require. So if you guys want to hear more details about that, stop by the stream. I'm happy to talk and kind of talk about the sides and the perspectives of it. We don't need to bog you down with this, but Esports World Cup looks like it was pretty good competition. Surprising results for BDS, putting them back on the map and turning some heads. But that top 4 I think is pretty expected. BDS, Gen G, Falcons, and G2. I think that's fair. The only one that I would have had instead, like I had in my predictions, is M8s over G2 just because of the sub. But M8s ran into the big bad Chiefs and Joreuz, so guess not. Either way, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know down below, and we'll catch you in the next video. Peace.